Okay, so the prologue didn't go well for me because I'm so lost. I'm trying not to convince myself to read books 2 through 13. Can you imagine if this was made into a TV show? If one more person says the wheel weaves what the wheel wills one more time, I'm gonna kick them in their eye of the world. But I'm starting to think maybe our main characters are idiots. A little bit, just a little bit. I don't understand what this means. Imagine reading Wheel of Time in less than a week. It has been 2 years since I last did a first and last video, and for a good reason, because the amount of times people told me to unalive myself after I read the first and last Throne of Glass books is ridiculous. So I did follow that up with the Mortal Instruments, and I just never touched this series again. But I did mention last year for my spring TBR that I was going to try and read the very first Wheel of Time book and the very last Wheel of Time book for the very first time and skip all of the middle books. And I just didn't do it. I just didn't do it. So I'm definitely going to do it this time, I promise. And of course a huge shout out to Daniel Green, who I believe is doing a first and last Wheel of Time video very, very soon also. So I have never read Wheel of Time before. I believe I did start this like 10 years ago before I started uni, and then I kind of just stopped and I just didn't go back. All I remember about this is that there was a forest, and I think someone was walking through a forest. That's all I remember. But I think I stopped maybe 100 pages in, maybe less, and I've never picked up the series again. So I have no idea what in the world happens in this series. So as soon as I have finished book 1, I'm jumping straight into the 14th and final book, which was actually written by Brandon Sanderson because the author, Robert Jordan, did pass away while writing this series. And I think Brandon Sanderson used the notes and the outlines from Robert Jordan to write this. So it'll be very, very interesting to see the differences in writing between the first and the last book. But I'm going to be very confused too because I'm going to have no idea what's going on. Apparently there is a prophecy that there will be the Dragon Reborn, a prophesized hero who is going to save the world from darkness. And according to the summary on the back, we follow a character called Rand, and I have a theory. I've got a theory that it's a demon. I've got a theory that Rand is going to be the Dragon Reborn. We'll see if I'm right. These are 2 very important, influential books in the world of fantasy. Please don't come for me. I don't think I will ever be able to read the middle books in this series. So this is all just going to be for shits and giggles, okay? This is just going to be a fun time. So this is just a way of me actually getting into the series without having to go through the slog. This video will be filled with spoilers, so be mindful of that going forward. Only watch this video if you have already read the series or if you have zero interest in reading the series and you just want to hang out. You just want to hang out and see what kind of chaos ensues. So if you end up enjoying this video, don't forget to leave it a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Now let's start my Wheel of Time adventure. First progress has been made. I am 215 pages into The Eye of the World. I read pretty much all of that yesterday during some Patreon reading sprints. It was a really good time. I'm listening to the audiobook as I read along physically, and it's narrated by Rosamund Pike. And I believe that she portrays one of the characters in the TV show, which I haven't seen, but a lot of my patrons were telling me, oh, you know, that's the actress of Moraine in the TV show. And I was like, oh, that's pretty awesome. And she's doing a fantastic job at narrating this book, by the way. She is honestly doing so amazing with the voices. I love, like, say for instance, we get to some Trollocs. This review is going to be all over the place, by the way, because I'm assuming you already know what happens in these books. So I won't really be, like, summarizing too much unless it's something I want to talk about. For instance, the audiobook narrator, there's like a really scary tense scene with some Trollocs, and one of them is talking to Rand, our main character, and she's given this like really great nasally gravelly voice. Like somehow she just makes it work. And let me tell you, Rosamund Pike, she spiked my adrenaline. I'm actually getting like really scared during some of these moments. I'm really enjoying it though. So you're probably sitting there thinking, Gavin, why the hell are you doing this video then if you're enjoying the first book? You'll want to continue on, right? I just know I won't continue the series. I just know I'll never read books 2 through 13. Yeah, ain't nobody got time for that. And I'm not going to lie as well, when I did the Throne of Glass one and I read the first and last book, 2 years later, I've pretty much forgotten everything that happened in the final book. So if I do want to read all the books in the middle, I don't think it'll spoil too much because I will most likely be too confused during the last book to probably remember anything that happens in it. Maybe. Famous last words. I'm already loving the writing style of this. I do love like flowery descriptions. I do love it when things are described pages upon pages. Because some of my favourite books are like gothic classics from the 1700s, 1800s. And I just love how fantastical this is feeling. So for instance, the very first paragraph just talks about the Wheel of Time and ages coming and passing. There are neither beginnings nor endings to the turn of the Wheel of Time, but it was a beginning. I love how incredibly story-like this feels. Like, obviously that makes freaking sense because it's fiction, but you know, like when you're sitting down and you're being told a story, maybe when you were younger, you're being tucked into bed and your grandfather is, you know, telling you stories from back in the day. This is what this feels like. It feels like a true story that's being told to us in a fantastical format. A little bit like how I read The Silmarillion a couple of months ago after reading The Lord of the Rings. And even though that was very dense and very heavy, it still felt like I was being told a story that really happened. And I'm not usually a fan of prologues, but the prologue was really exciting. It was so good. I'm trying not to convince myself to read books 2 through 13. So yeah, obviously this is like my first time reading the series, so I had no idea what it was like genuinely about. But very early on we have Rand, and he sees this horseman who ends up disappearing, and I think it was Matt. Yeah, Matt also saw the horseman too, which is very interesting because there's also ties to the Dark One, and there is mention of these false Dragon Reborn people. That's also been piquing my interest because, yeah, again, like I'm like, well, who's the Dragon Reborn? If people keep, you know, saying that they're the Dragon Reborn and it turns out they're not, and there are these like false ones, then surely the actual Dragon Reborn is just around the corner. But I'm not really 100% sure at this moment in time what that exactly entails. My money is still on Rand because at this moment in time with the story, we have Moraine. I love Moraine. By the way, oh, you know, I can't go off on another tangent. I'll forget what I was saying originally. Moraine has taken Rand, Matt, and Perrin. I'm honestly trying to make sure that I remember everyone's names. I always have the hardest time with remembering character names. Sometimes which character is which, but so far so good. I think immersing myself in the physical and the audiobook of this is really helping me focus. So those three are like very similar in age, and they had to leave their village because it was attacked by Trollocs, and it seems like the Dark One is after them, or at least after one of them, because they could be the Dragon Reborn. So that is why Moraine is there, although she did predate the attack. So there's like questions of like, what does she really know? And she seems a little bit interesting too, like very morally grey, because there was also a moment as well when she says about how she would destroy them before the Dark One got to them with the whole like Dragon Reborn thing. So it's really pivotal that the Dark One doesn't get any of these characters, which I think is so fascinating. I'm like, I never knew this about the Wheel of Time. I don't even know what I was expecting. But you know how I said in the introduction how there are like maybe a couple of things that I kind of remember from my very first reading of this? I say first reading, I think I only got maybe 50 pages in before stopping, because there were actually a couple of scenes that I kind of remembered, which after 10 years is a testament to this story, I think, because I genuinely forget what I read in January of this year. So I remember kind of the scene with the horseman that Rand sees in the woods. Like, I remember there was a forest, and I remember that, and I remember there was a weird interaction, but nothing else other than that. But I also remember page 36. Get your textbooks out. I remember on page 36 when Moraine is talking to Matt and Rand, and she tells them, I may have some small tasks to be done from time to time while I am in Emond's Field. For some reason, that just triggered a memory. I remember a woman telling the characters that she might need their help for some things. I remember that. I wasn't 100% sure whether I would love this when I started it, because as much as I really enjoy the writing, I was like, okay, but like 700 pages of this? Like, can it not just be like 200 and we'll call it a day? But no, something happens with the Trollocs around about like 77 pages in, and this like place, this village is attacked by Trollocs, and it was so exciting. Like really, really exciting. I just love the way it's all described. They're not even given a name to begin with. They just attack, and of the creature that had jumped out after him, there was no sign. It could be anywhere, hunting him, surely, even creeping up on him at that very moment. And I was getting chills. I don't know if it was also the added element of the audiobook narrator, but I was like looking over my own shoulder. I'm like, has the Trollocs come for the trollop? And I love the description when Rand was actually like fighting with one. Rand recognized one by its ram's horns. The others were much the same, even in their differences. Melange of human faces distorted by muzzles, horns, feathers, and fur. Their hands, almost human, only made it worse. Two wore boots, the others had hooves. He watched without blinking until his eyes burned. None of the Trollocs moved. They had to be dead, and Tam was waiting. But then one of them does talk to him. Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, the audiobook narrator just, it was just so good. And apparently someone called Murderel. Is Murderel the dark one? I don't know if I might have missed that. There is a lot of information I'm taking in, and I am trying. But like, Murderel wants to talk to Rand. I really don't want to make myself look stupid while reading this. I love fantasy, and epic fantasies and adult fantasies do intimidate me a lot, so I haven't really read a whole lot of them. So if I do say something in this vlog that makes me seem a little bit dumb, I'm still like finding my feet with the genre. So I think Murderel is like more than one, because it is described as like the eyeless. Murderel say like eagles in darkness or in light, but they have no eyes. I can think of a few things more dangerous than facing a Murderel. So I don't think it's the dark one then. I think the dark one is like a singular person or thing or creature. Marine said I and I both tried to kill the other that was here last night, and we failed every time. Half men have the dark one's own luck. And Rand did actually manage to slay a Trolloc alone and unaided. So I genuinely think Rand is more special than the others. As much as I like Matt and Perrin, although I say like, I don't think any of their personalities have really shown through just yet. It's been very plot heavy, which is fantastic. We did have a little bit of traveling, a little bit of not a whole lot going on for a good chunk of this before we get to the Stag and the Lion, which is kind of where I'm at now, and I'm really enjoying those scenes. But yeah, I think we haven't really seen a whole lot of personality just yet. So there's still time. I'm going to make another prediction, and this might be totally off, but it seems like there's some kind of maybe romantic tension between Rand and Egwene. I mean, they have a little bit of a scuffle when Egwene tells him that she could be an Aes Sedai, which is what Moraine is, and they kind of put heads a little bit. When Rand says things like, if you weren't such a light-blinded fool, you'd say, and she says, fool am I? Let me tell you a thing or two, Rand al'Thor. You are the mulliest, most wool-headed, and then they get stopped. It just feels like maybe some kind of romantic tension there. I don't know. But I kind of like their banter at the minute. And I'm honestly on the fence about Moraine. I like her as a character, but I kind of don't know whether or not she will end up coming against our main character, Rand, if he does turn out to be the Dragon Reborn, because she does say, the dog one is after you three, one or all, and if I let you go running off wherever you want to go, he will take you. Whatever the Dark One wants, I oppose, so hear this and know it true. Before I let the Dark One have you, I will destroy you myself. So I'm wondering if she will do something against our main character or characters for the good of the world, or at least that's how it's going to come across as. So I don't know if there might be some kind of scuffle there. Will she turn against Rand for the better of the world, to stop the Dark One from getting who I think is the Dragon Reborn? And yeah, the last I pretty much read for this update was when they arrive at the Stag and Lion. Rand talks to someone called Balsamon in the Flames, and they talk about the past false dragons, including like Loghain. They were used until there was nothing left. But just know, I am really enjoying this. I think it's been pretty good so far, okay? But please don't give me any grief for what I'm about to do going from this book to the last book, okay? I was up pretty late reading more of this, and I ended on chapter 30. It was such a cliffhanger. Oh, I can't wait to get back into it, but I wanted to update you now because I've read another like 250 pages. I'm on page 451, but I didn't want to read too much and then forget to talk about something that I thought was interesting, yada yada yada. And don't get me wrong, there is so much to cover with The Eye of the World, and I think it would take probably a 5-hour video just talking about this alone. So I really am just like cherry picking things to talk about. So if I don't mention something that you think is important, it's probably not that I missed it, it's probably because I don't think it's important to me right now, or maybe I did miss it because, you know, this is dense. So do let me know down below if you think there is something that really does stand out that I might not have mentioned. I'm trying to focus on just specific characters, really. Characters that I think are going to be important, which might bite me in the butt moving forward. But it's only just because the cast of characters is like really expanding. We met quite a few new characters in this section of the book. I mean, the characters that we do have and were introduced to earlier on have now like split off into like 3 different groups. So they're each like kind of meeting new people too. And it's just like, oh my god, it's like a family tree and it just like keeps branching out. So forgive me for any mistakes. But like the story itself has been like incredibly exciting still. I'm really enjoying it. I mean, sometimes it gets a little bit slower paced, but I feel like this book so far has like some really good set pieces. For instance, when they get to Shadar Logoth and they have that whole scene there. This is like before they all split off. I could really visualize that. And the way that Moraine talks about it too, it's just like this level of suspense and tension, which is all this book has been to me so far. It's been like a lot of tension. I think maybe it does slow down the story a little bit when Robert Jordan does talk more into scriptive terms, but I'm still eating that up. I'm really visualizing it as if it was its own TV show. Fancy that. Can you imagine if this was made into a TV show? You know, actually, I might try and watch the first episode of the TV show after I finish this, just to see what I think about it. I've heard mixed things about it, but I think I will try the first episode after finishing this, because so much of it is like really intriguing, and I'm really interested to see how this is adapted too. There's a scene with Mordeth where he like kind of expands, and that gives me like a little bit of a silly image in my head, a little bit Violet Beauregarde from Willy Wonka, but I'm sure it's pulled off a lot more seriously maybe in the TV show. I don't even know if it actually covers all of this, but I do really like the scenes in this setting, and when like Matt, Perrin, and Rand figure out that Mordeth doesn't have a shower. A shower? Doesn't have a shadow. I mean, Mordeth probably doesn't shower either, but like he doesn't have a shadow, and it's just like, boom. But I'm starting to think maybe our main characters are idiots a little bit, just a little bit. But Moraine did get them there. She said like they will be safe from like Trollocs and stuff. Like Trollocs don't dare enter there. And obviously like Rand, Matt, and Perrin went off on their own, did a little bit of exploring, looking for treasure, which I love. I love that. But it's when they come back and they are quite mad at Moraine, and Matt says, "Say if you said all that talk about Trollocs not coming here, what were we supposed to think?" And then Moraine says, I love this, "Apparently you did not think at all," she said, coolly composed once more. "Anyone who thinks would be wary of a place that Trollocs are afraid to enter." Like, oh, the burn. The absolute burn. The bad guys are scared to come in here. Why do you think? You know, it's just... I just love that. I love that so much. And Moraine is probably my most interesting character so far. She's feeling a little bit Gandalf-esque, but if Gandalf was a lot more like morally grey. There is a scene where they leave the inn, the Stag and Lion, they're leaving and it's like being attacked and there's like fire and stuff. And Moraine like needs them all to like move on and get away from like danger and stuff. And Nynaeve says, "You say that's so easy, Moraine. What about the people at the inn? People must be hurt, and the innkeeper has lost his livelihood because of you. For all your talk about walking in the light, you're ready to go on without sparing a thought for him. His trouble is because of you." She does rationalise it and say things like, "I don't want to draw attention. If we help, then it just brings attention to us. Of course, we could all return. The white doubt I can get us all back into Berlin unnoticed. And that would expose all of you to whomever set that fire, not to mention the White Cloaks." You know, like, there's so many things that she says that, like, make sense for the greater good. The people who are affected as well, it's just like, yeah, people might be dying right now, but she has to go on. She sees the greater good. And I'm just wondering who will pay the price along the way for Moraine's decisions. That's just what I'm thinking. And in all probability, hand the Dark One his victory. Like, she will do anything to stop the Dark One from getting the Dragon Reborn. Egwene is really interesting too. She is exhibiting the one power. Some of it feels a little Lord of the Rings-esque, which I think is probably intentional. Like the one ring, the one power, you know, Moraine. Actually, I think the whole kind of start of this book felt a little bit Shire-esque. But I'm going to keep an eye on Egwene, because Perrin's with her after they split up. The power, she nodded and he stared at her. "Are you crazy? I mean, the one power? You can't just play around with something like that." And she says, "It was so easy, Perrin. I can do it. I can channel the power." He took a deep breath. "I'll make a fireball, Egwene. Promise you won't try this thing again." So it sounds like the one power, well, it could be bad for you, I guess. Like, it sounds powerful, but maybe it's like a power that can corrupt or a power that can consume. Something that obviously terrifies Perrin to the point where he's asking her not to do it again, even if it would save their lives. So I'm like, okay, will she be powerful enough to wield it, but also survive it? That's what I'm getting from the little glimpses of the one power. But again, like, maybe it has been explained and I kind of just missed it. But I just love how nothing's like quite straightforward. Like, Moraine isn't a straightforward good character or a bad character. This one power isn't like a straightforward, this could save our lives, versus this could send us into chaos and death and destruction. I feel like nothing is like black and white here. Loved when we meet Elias too, and his wolves. Again, that was so tense. At the minute, I think Egwene and Perrin's scenes are my favourite. At the minute, I find them so interesting right now, and following them is just, it's been so great because, yeah, they meet Elias and he has his wolves and they're like surrounded and he can like talk to the wolves and they're worried that they're going to attack and they're like, "Oh, are they your pets? Are they tame?" Stuff like that. Like, that whole interaction very, very tense and exciting. Because at this point as well, I was like, who the fuck is Elias? Like, what is his deal? Is he good? Is he bad? I don't know. Wolves don't tame girl, not even as well as men. They're my friends. We keep each other company, hunt together, converse after a fashion. I'm just like, who are you? Although I don't think we're gonna see much more of him, because now that we've left it where I am, they are captured by the White Cloaks, and Perrin has like killed some of theirs. So Bornhold, he is one of the White Cloaks, and they've captured them at the end of chapter 30. And he says to Perrin, but you, just Perrin from the Two Rivers, you killed 2 of the children. He touched the axe that Bjor still held. For you, I fear a gibbet waits in Amador. So like now his life is on the line. Oh, and it seems like Perrin, can he talk to animals or something? I'm pretty sure he could talk to the ravens or something beforehand. And I'm like, okay, now we're expanding these characters. They're getting way, way, way more interesting. Their powers, like they seem quite powerful. Not exactly powerful just yet, but like they could potentially be powerful. And it's the same with Nynaeve as well. I'm honestly all over the place, I'm sorry. It's the same with Nynaeve. Moraine tells her, you have great potential, I think. With training, you might become even more powerful than Egwene. And I believe she can become one of the most powerful Aes Sedai we have seen in centuries. And Nynaeve says, no, I'll have nothing to do with what? Myself? There's just like so much untapped potential with these characters. I'm very excited to find out what becomes of them by skipping the middle and going straight to the last one. I'm sure by this point they're all very, very powerful. This is my prediction. They're all powerful now. They're the best in their field. They can take on anything. Last prediction and last segment of this update. Bornhold says on page 447, I have heard of this thing of men running with wolves, though I have not seen it before. Men supposedly talking with wolves and with other creatures of the Dark One. A filthy business. It makes me fear the last battle is indeed coming soon. So I'm wondering if maybe the last battle is what this book is about, maybe? Like, is this the battle prophesied? Is this what we're leading to? I find that very, very interesting. Why did I take my bookmark out? I need that. Yeah, I'm really enjoying my time here. Maybe one day I will read books 2 through 30. Honestly, the first half of this video is just going to be me having a crisis, wondering if I should read all the books in the middle at some point or just not. And I'm just questioning things a little bit now. But now I need to say if Perrin even survives the first book. I finished The Eye of the World last night. It was around about like 1 a.m. or something. And if one more person says the wheel weaves what the wheel wills one more time, I'm going to kick them in their eye of the world. I understand it is like the slogan. It is the mantra of this world. Because yeah, the wheel does weave what the wheel wills. Shit happens, right? Shit happens, history repeats, there's a lot of prophesizing and all of that good fantasy stuff. So like, I totally get it, but it was like nearly every other page. I was like, oh, for God's sake, not again. But I ended up like really enjoying this. I mean, I found the end, I wouldn't exactly say rushed, but would I? Because it felt a little bit, not exactly out of place either, but I felt like we could have explored a whole new book with what happens at the end. Because a lot does happen, a lot of unexpected things, which really just enhanced my enjoyment of the story, honestly. But also, I feel a little bit overloaded by all of the storylines and the plot elements that actually ended up happening by the end of this. My intrigue is sky high though. I am super excited to see what happens next in the final book, of course, because, you know, books 2 to 30 don't actually exist. So it had a really exciting ending. Just don't expect me to have understood everything in this book. I feel like it would take maybe 2 more reads for me to understand everything. As I've said before, I love adult fantasy so much, but it's not really the genre that I can most understand sometimes. But I am hoping to improve that on my channel. So I have a few questions. Like, is Rand then the Dragon Reborn? Like, is that actually officially confirmed? Because we end the book with Moraine saying, the dragon is reborn. Hang on, let me find my place. This is so unprofessional. Yeah, the prophecies will be fulfilled. The Aes Sedai whispered. The dragon is reborn. And this is after all of the stuff that happens with Rand. I've skipped so much there, but like, let me just word vomit a little bit. There was so much focus on Rand at the end of this. They end up going to the Eye of the World. There is like a blight, and it is like decimating things, and there is a green man who is keeping all of that at bay, but then the green man gets killed, and then there is like a fight with some Forsaken, and Rand gets like transported and obliterates like a Trolloc army. He comes back, realizes that he wielded the one power, doesn't want to ever do that again, because actually I think it connects with the prologue of this book. Like, again, like the prologue, it was so exciting. I didn't really mention it because I wasn't sure if it was like important or if it was just like setting the scene, but it does sound like this kind of like madness, this kind of slaughter of people, of like his family, the person at the start of this. It feels like we might get a repeat of that with Rand, because he's questioning everything. He never wants to touch that power again. And maybe it's making him feel a little bit mad. Like, his struggle is real. Like, I really do feel his struggle. Yeah, like, is he prophesized? Is he destined to? There was, like, a random woman who tried to kill them earlier on too, him and Matt. She is like, you know, it would be so much better if you died. And I'm like, what are we prophesizing here? Like, why would it be better if they died? Like, what are you not telling us? Are they going to destroy the world? Is Rand going to destroy the world? That's what I want to know. Will he destroy everyone he loves? I hope it happens in the last book, because, you know, it would be... I mean, actually, I don't hope he kills people. I really do like the characters. But, like, I hope if anything major happened, it got kept for this book. I know there were, like, 12/13. I'm sure there's a prequel too, filled with thousands upon thousands of pages that probably have a lot of stuff. Like, I don't even know if all the characters I met in this book will still be alive in book 14. I'm terrified. Like, I think Tom's still alive, for one. There was a moment earlier on where Tom does... Like, where was it? He helps Matt and Rand to escape, and we don't really see him. Like, we hear his screams and stuff, but I don't think he's dead because we don't see a body. Tom, Rand said, he tightened his arms around the bundle of Tom's cloak. The instrument cases were hard lumps inside. Tom, he's dead. You saw, you heard. Light, Rand, he's dead. All right, maybe they are alive, but Tom, you saw blood and ashes. Rand, the same thing can happen to us. I need to see a body. I need the autopsy report. I'm not believing it until I see it with my own eyes. So, like, character-wise, I do really like the characters. I mean, sometimes they annoyed me. Like Matt, for instance. Oh my god, the fact that he took a dagger from Shadar Logoth and didn't tell anyone. I mean, typical Matt. Am I right? When he saw being a dumbass. I mean, to be fair, I think he is the one with the most personality. So it really does fit in with his character. And he is, like, very curious and stuff like that. So I do like him. But yeah, I guess he still has, like, a lot of growing up to do. Which is, like, fine, honestly. When I put myself in his shoes, I think, what would I do? Yeah, I would probably steal a dagger too. So there is a corruption alongside this dagger. That Marine says, if it does not kill him first, he will spread that evil like a plague wherever he goes. Just as one scratch from that blade is enough to infect and destroy, so soon, a few minutes with Matt will be just as deadly. So I'm wondering if there's, like, any consequences to that, like any repercussions, will we see moving forward? Because, like, Marine does, like, she can't take all of the corruption away because she doesn't have the power to do that, like, to extract everything. So I'm wondering if there will be more consequences. I mean, I'm sure that storyline gets wrapped up in, like, book 2 or 3 or something, and, like, by book 14, like, no one gives a shit about it anymore. Like, we're so beyond it that we really don't even need to think about it. But I would like to see resolution in book 14. I would hate it, though, if that kind of storyline was introduced in book 1 and it just get wrapped up until, like, book 14. That's a lot of waiting. Like, you guys have to be so patient. Perrin also, there is a question of whether or not he might turn evil, I guess. Because Moraine finds out that he is able to, like, talk to wolves. Perrin says, this communicating with the wolves, Moraine seems to think it's something the Dark One did. It isn't, is it? And then Lan, oh, you know what, I barely mentioned Lan, but I really like him. I really do. Lan says, not in itself, no. Some believe it is, but they are wrong. It was old and lost long before the Dark One was found. But what if the chance involved blacksmiths? Sometimes the pattern has a randomness to it. Blah, blah, blah. The pattern is a formative great web. What some call the Ace of Ages. I love, like, that whole building of the world and stuff. I love how intricate it feels, like the fabric of time, the wheel, everything. Like, I do love that. Sometimes it is a little bit repetitive, though. But Lan to say, have you been chosen out then? And if so, by the light or by the shadow? So is it lightness? Is it darkness? What does it entail? I need to know. I need to know. And then, you know, the same with Rand. Like, so with Matt, Rand, and Perrin, all three of them have this journey that they have to go on now, I guess, in terms of, are they going to go the right path or the wrong path? There isn't, like, a clear cut, oh, this is, like, the good path, this is the bad path. There's just so much greyness to it. Are the powers inherently good, inherently evil, or is it all to do with choice? Like, what is it that will... Or is it just the wheel weaves what the wheel wills? You know, you just don't know. So I did find this reading experience so enjoyable. I think it's such a good book. And I do see a lot of nods to The Lord of the Rings. And I did just read that trilogy. Well, it was a reread, but it felt almost like reading it for the first time. Back in January, I went to the Shire House for a week and read The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, and I had the best time. So if you haven't watched that video yet, please do check it out. I do read the entire series. I don't skip anything. But it is probably my most favourite video that I've ever done personally. So I would love it if you checked it out. But yeah, I do see, especially since I've just read The Lord of the Rings, all of the kind of allusions to it, all of the nods. But I do think that this is originally enough that it stands on its own 2 feet. I feel like it uses those like fantasy tropes and fantasy storylines in order to inform what Robert Jordan wants to tell us with his world. And I can only imagine that this was just like the foundation of everything, and we're just gonna go so up and onwards with the rest of the series. Lord of the Rings was probably just like the starting point, the jumping off point, and then, you know, we just get all of that originality come through. So before I move on as well, I do want to say that my heart just broke for Rand when he's talking to Balsamon and he sees his mother and he has a talk with his mother. The Lord of the Grave is stronger than he once was, my son. His reach is longer. The father of lies has a honey tongue for unwary souls. My son, my only darling son. I would spare you if I could, but he is my master now. His whim, the law of my existence. I can but obey him and grovel for his favour. Only you can free me. Please, my son, please help me, help me, help me, please. God, like, I was like actually tearing up during that. I was like, oh my god, is he actually gonna help his mother? His family is so intriguing. I want to know more about Rand's family because, yeah, apparently Tam isn't his actual dad. What is going on there? Like, what is the family root? What is the family ties? How does the family tree look? So some questions moving forward. Is Moraine right at the very end of this? Is the Dragon Reborn? Is it Rand? I want to know that concretely. I want to know that definitively. Is he the Dragon Reborn? Does Matt stop being a dumbass? I mean, I would love to see character growth and character progression, but obviously I'm going to be skipping all of that, so... Who knows? Is Moraine going to do something drastic for the greater good? Will the Dark One, will he do Dark One things? Like, I'm looking forward to seeing that too. Do we meet any more token Trollocs? We've only really met one so far, and I found that so intriguing. So I wonder if there's like some kind of hierarchy with Trollocs, and there are some that can talk, some that can't, and we just like get more of that, I don't know. So a couple of romantic things now. Do Rand and Egwene get together? I mean, they were so cute. When Egwene tells Rand that he can be her warder, I will make you my warder when I'm an Aes Sedai. You would like being a warder, wouldn't you? My warder? Oh, my warder. Stop. And then Nynaeve and Lan too. Oh my god, that was so cute. The whole flirting between them. Lan says, I am not a king, Nynaeve, just a man without as much to his name as even the meanest farmer's croft. Nynaeve says, some women don't ask for land or gold, just the man. And then Lan says, and the man who would ask her to accept so little would not be worthy of her. You are a remarkable woman, as beautiful as the sunrise, as fierce as a warrior. You are a lioness, wisdom. A wisdom seldom weds. Few men can live with so much power in a wife, dimming them by her radiance whether she wishes to or not. And he says, some men are strong enough, I know one such. That was so hot. I'm not gonna lie, that was very hot. So I am rooting for Rand and Egwene and Nynaeve and Lan. Any more questions that I wrote down? Yeah, will Rand destroy the world? Very good question. Where is Tom? Because I don't for a second believe he's dead. I want to know more about Perrin talking to wolves. I want to know more about that kind of system. Like, is he Robert Jordan's answer to Snow White? What does it mean? Will Egwene become an Aes Sedai? And will Nynaeve learn to channel? All very important questions that I'm sure won't be answered in this one. Most likely answered well before this book. I'm actually like really scared of A Memory of Light, so I do have the audiobook to go with the library edition that I have checked out, so I can totally immerse myself in this and really pay attention. It's the only way I can ever read fantasy books these days. My attention span is not great. But the audiobook at my reading speed, which is 2.4 times speed, is 17 hours and 24 minutes. But the prologue itself is nearly 3 hours long. Why? Why does a chapter have to be 3 hours long? What is the need? And there is another chapter that is 9 hours and 4 minutes and 6 seconds long. Why? Why is it so long? And this is over 1,000 pages, but it looks a little bit shorter than the first book, but that's because this is using like Bible paper. It's extremely thin, so it's kind of deceiving a little bit. But let's read the back of this. Let's see if anything is told in the summary, anything that might help my reading journey. I'm not going to read any spoilers. I'm just going to read what's on the back of the book. That's what I did with Kingdom of Ash for Throne of Glass. And honestly, it confused the life out of me. But we're going to go ahead and read the back of this. The wheel of time turns, and ages come and pass, leaving memories that become legend. Legend fades to myth, and even myth is long forgotten when the age that gave it birth returns again. What was, what will be, and what is may yet fall under the shadow. So it gives absolutely nothing away in that summary at all. Nothing about the characters, nothing about anything. I don't know if there's like any kind of like recap thing at the start of this book. I know sometimes There is, but no, it doesn't look like it. It's just the prologue. So I'm going to go ahead and read the prologue in the first chapter. I'll come back to you. Okay, massive prologue done. Let's play a game called Who the Fuck Are You? Here's a list of characters that I have no clue who they are. And maybe they were mentioned in The Eye of the World, but I can't remember if they were, so I do have a list. And not every single character mentioned in the prologue I have put in this list. There was just so many. There were like pages of one POV kind of person, and then it would go to a different one, and there's just so much going on. So much going on. And our main characters from the first book, only Nynaeve appears, Rand is mentioned a couple of times, and Matt. So who are you? Baird, Lord Jared, Karim, Leilwyn, Sleet, Melton, Androl, Emerin, Tame, Canler, Bavara, Desarton, Lord Algarin of House Pandalorn, Jessamine, Talamanes, Gaibon, Denel, Filga, Mar Eludre, Morgedon, Moradin, Demandrid, Sangdane, Hessalam, and Mihail. Who are you? What's your purpose here? There were a couple of terms I don't know as well. There was mention of the Talentless, Daughter of the Nine Moons. There was like this ability to form a circle, the Black Tower, Nox Rebellion, which they did mention a little bit of. So maybe I do know it. They said it happened like 10 years before. I don't actually know the time jump between book 1 and book 14. So maybe it already happened in a previous book. I don't know. Game of Houses and Nameless. And there were so many more that I didn't write down. But like, what? So far, I can't really tell with the writing style because we haven't been with any of the characters from the first book apart from Nynaeve. But I think as soon as we get to like normal character parts, then maybe I will be able to tell the difference between Robert Jordan and Brandon Sanderson. But at the minute, like, this was just like all random, so I don't know. This is just what I get from the prologue, which isn't a lot, but I think the last battle is approaching. There's someone tasked to kill Rand. Who? I don't know him. Oh, and Rand is definitely the Dragon Reborn, by the way. It pretty much just says the Chosen. The Chosen want him dead. I want him dead, Hunter. Althor, yes, you have failed in the past. You have failed in the past. So I think that's Isom. Isom has tried to kill Rand in the past and failed. In truth, he'd rather have continued his hunt for the wolf. I'm wondering if that has some ties to Perrin. Each time one of the others has tasked me with his hunt, he said, another has come to pull me away and set me on some other task. Such won't happen this time, the Chosen said. All others have renounced claim on you. Unless the Great Lord tells you otherwise, unless he summons you himself, you are to keep to this task, kill Althor. So that's what most I got from this. I've had to like write all my notes down on here because I can't annotate a library book. So apparently Leilwyn has fucked up a lot in the past. Same with Bale. Some stuff with them, okay? And Nynaeve isn't happy with Leilwyn. And Leilwyn used to be called something else. Egenin? There are Trollocs burning in a city. I picked up that. And there is a circle of dragons. What does that mean? So does that mean like actual dragons or people dragons? Since, you know, like Rand is Dragon Reborn, he's a person, he's not like an actual literal dragon. But there are times in this prologue where it sounds like actual dragons. They're talking about flames and fire and destruction. And I'm like, okay, so is it actual dragons or just people dragons? I don't know, because there wasn't a dragon in The Eye of the World, so I don't know if they exist. Lews Therin was mentioned, and I'm pretty sure he was mentioned in the very prologue of the Eye of the World. When talking about Mihail, it says here, Mihail has earned his reward. Too many of our number threw themselves in a contest with Althor when he was presumed to be weak, which is Rand. Mihail instead earned Lews Therin's trust. And I'm like, wait, isn't Lews Therin the person who like went a little bit mad in the prologue in the very first book and like killed a whole lot of people? Is he back? Like what's the deal there? Like, is he evil? Is he like the enemy? Is he the Dark One? So if it is him, wasn't he like, I don't know. Did they bring him back? Was he resurrected? He has been raising a new generation of Dreadlords to the Shadow's cause. So that sounds pretty evil to me. And this whole scene involves Moradin, Demandrid. They sound like evil people. I mean, I don't want to rush to conclusions. They sound like they might be the bad guys. It sounds so final as well. Make your final place for this. This is the end. Like, why am I a little bit scared? I'm so scared. Okay, so the prologue didn't go well. for me because I'm so lost. Which, of course I would be. But I didn't think we would only really see one character who I know and have a whole list of people I have no fucking clue who they are. Also, Logain was mentioned. Wasn't he like the false dragon from book 1? Chatting between Emerin and Androl. We are the Black Tower's men. No idea what the whole Black Tower stuff is about. I'll lead you if I must, but this isn't about me or about you or any of us individually. I'm only in charge until Logain returns. So I'm like, okay, at least it's another character I know. We're off to a cracking start, lads. Well, I guess a lot's happened since book 1. You wouldn't believe it, would you? So I'm 434 pages in. I went through so much of this yesterday, and you know what? I might be a little bit confused about things. I might be a little bit lost, but I don't think I'm as lost as I thought I would be. I'm trying to pick up a lot of the clues of what's happened in the past as we are being told it in this book alone. Wow, like so much has happened, hasn't it? Like so much development. So many things have changed with the characters. They've come so far. I'm kind of proud. I'm proud of Rand. I'm proud of Perrin. I don't know if I'm proud of Matt though. I'm trying to work out what's happened with Matt. Egwene, Nynaeve, oh my god. Okay, so let's just get back into what the fuck's going on. So Rand is definitely the Dragon Reborn. Like, definitely. But is he possessed by Lews Therin or something? Also, actually, firstly, before I talk about characters, writing style, I mean, maybe if I'd read more of Wheel of Time, I would understand more of Robert Jordan's writing style. But, like, so far, I'm seeing some differences. I love the fact that chapter 1 actually begins exactly the same as chapter 1 of Eye of the World. There are neither beginnings nor endings to the turn of the Wheel of Time, but it was a beginning. That's like literally just exactly the same as the first book. So I'm wondering if maybe Brandon Sanderson just kind of like did that so that we would feel... to be fair though, we could have done that with book 11, because isn't that when he started writing these books for Robert Jordan after he passed away? Like book 11, 12... no. Book 12, 13, 14... I believe are the 3 books that Brandon Sanderson wrote. So if he wanted to do that, I probably would have done that with book 12, right? I don't know. But actually, I think it's really just like the kind of beautiful lyricism of the fact that this is a wheel. Like, this is the Wheel of Time. The narrative is like bringing us back to the beginning kind of thing. I love that. But like, it's not as atmospheric as the first book, but I'm wondering if that's maybe due to the plot of this one. There is a lot of battle strategy, a lot of alliances being formed, a lot of talk about the last battle, because the last battle is upon us. At least I understand that. That's something that's been foreshadowed since the very first book, so I'm kind of glad that it is like pretty much upon us now. So I think the plot of this one doesn't really allow for things to be as atmospheric as the first book. There are definitely tense moments, so I do apologise because I really do feel like I should be able to have picked out more like of the differences between Sanderson and Jordan. But I think just going from the first book to the last book, I don't think I really took too much from Robert Jordan's writing style from the first book that kind of allows me to see the differences in this one. But I think detail is one of the biggest differences that I've noticed personally. Yeah, let's go back to Rand for a second and being bloody possessed. Rand had never tasted seawater Lews Therin had, and it's like that, Rand said. I can remember being Lews Therin, can remember doing what he did as one remembers actions in a dream. It was me doing them, but I don't necessarily like them or think I'd take those actions if I were in my waking mind. He's me and I'm him, but at the same time, I'm not. So I'm like, was there a moment in time? Because Matt also brings this up at some point in this book too, about how there was a Perrin. One of the two. There's so many characters in this. One of the two mentioned something about there being a struggle. So I think at one point, Rand had to regain control of himself. He said, I am Mad Perrin. My madness is these memories, these impulses. Lews Therin tried to take over. I was 2 people fighting over control of myself, and one of them was completely insane. So yeah, at one point in the series, it feels more recent, just the way they're talking about it. Maybe it was in the previous book, about how Lews Therin took over his body. And I liked how at the end of The Eye of the World that was kind of alluded to, with like things happening again, history repeating. But I just wasn't expecting Lews Therin to have possessed him. I might be totally wrong on that. I'm sorry if I am. Also, Rand lost a hand, because Tam says, it's been quite a weight, hasn't it? What weight? The lost hand you've been carrying. Rand looked down at his stump. Yes, I believe it has been at that. And Matt's lost an eye? They're losing limbs left, right and centre. Apparently Moiraine lost her life at one point too? What? I'm honestly so intrigued by what happened between Matt and Rand, Because as they're talking about, like, all of, like, the limbs that they've lost and stuff, what did you do to your hand, by the way, Matt says? What did you do to your eye? A little accident with a corkscrew and 13 angry innkeepers. The hand lost to capturing one of the Forsaken. Okay, so I mean, that explains how he lost it, but, like, how? I married the Empress of the Scene-chan? Like, yeah, the fact that Matt's married to an Empress is kind of amazing. Love that for him. He asked her, do you love me? An Empress does not love. She said, I'm sorry, I'm with you because the Omen stated so. And so with you, I will bring the Saint Shannon heir. So they're kind of together because of a prophecy. So I don't know if there's like actual love there. She does say, perhaps I can admit that it is good to see you. So I'm like, okay, I've missed a lot. And I think Matt brought Moraine back to life. So Moraine died at some point. Because she randomly appeared. I was wondering where she was because I think the first 5 or 6 chapters of this, there was like no mention of her. And then she appears and everyone's like, whoa, what the fuck? You're not supposed to be here kind of thing. And like, even Nynaeve is like wiping tears from her eyes, even though she seems to not really like Moraine all that much. So now I'm like, okay, well, how the fuck did Moraine die? And apparently Matt brought her back. Because Matt says that it was thanks to him. And I'm, how? Because this is Rand. He often thought about the moment when he had lost Moraine. He had agonized over her death. And he still reveled in her return. What? Like, when does she die? How does she die? Moraine? Like, she seemed like such a formidable character. I just didn't think she would ever die, to be honest. But the fact that she did at one point, and I don't know about it, rude. And how the hell did Matt bring her back? Why is it thanks to him? Why are Matt and Rand not speaking? I mean, they kind of, I feel like they are, because when Rand comes to Matt's wife, Tuon, like, she rules this land, and, like, again, I want to be so bad with the details, but Rand is asking everyone to sign, like, the Dragon's Peace, and trying to get everyone under one rule so that they can, you know, go into this last battle united, because they've lost the Gap. They have Camelin, the city, the place, that's fallen. Like, the Trollocs are trollocking. The Shadow is shadowing, and they need all the help they can get. And Rand is the one who's supposed to, well, prophesize to, I guess, go down in fire, to die, for everyone to live, sort of thing. And he wants to break the seals so that he can kill the Dark One once and for all. But Egwene, she is, oh my god, she is the Aes Sedai leader, I think. Like, everyone's calling her Mother. And I'm like, why are they calling her Mother? Like, is that, you know, what people call, like, Lady Gaga? Like, oh, she's so Mother. You know, is it kind of like that? Or is it Mother because, you know, she's leader of the Aes Sedai, so she is Mother, you know? I don't know. But I'm so proud of her. Like, she's come a long way. Rand has come a long way. The way that he commands and the way that he, like, there was a scene where he exacts his power. Rand calmed himself. He sought peace, the peace of destruction. He was life, but he was also death. He was a manifestation of the land itself. He struck, destroying an unseen dreadlord hiding in the rubble of a burnt building nearby. He summoned fire and directed it in a second, burning him to nothingness. They're so powerful. Like, Rand's so powerful. Nynaeve is so powerful. Egwene is so powerful. I'm proud of all of them. I really am. I know I skipped a whole bunch of character growth. I still read over 700 pages of them where they made sense in the first book. And, you know, I wanted them to succeed and get more powerful and become who they want to be. But what happened between Rand and Egwene? Why aren't they together? How in the world is Rand gonna be a father to Elaine's children? So, like, he's with her, but then, hang on, there's also another bit where I think he's having a threesome. Like, Rand is Randy in this one. Avienda, I love you, I truly do, but that's a problem, Bernard. I love all 3 of you. I don't think I could accept this and choose. And then she's like, you are a fool. We are first sisters, Randall thought, Elaine and I. When we get to know her better, men will join us. We 3 will share in all things. We will share you, they had said to him. What? Rand says, how can I hope for pain in those I love? The pain is ours to accept, she said, raising her chin. Randall thought your decision is simple, though you strive to make it difficult. Choose yes or no, but you won't. It is all 3 of us, or none of us. We will not let you come between us. So, like, he's having a threesome? Like, is that what this, is this what this means? And Elaine is pregnant with his children? The children of the Dragon Reborn? What? So I guess that's a quadruple? A quartet? A quartet of coitus? I don't understand what this means. And why isn't he with Egwene? Like, wasn't she gonna make him her warder when she becomes Aes Sedai? I mean, obviously, like, he's the Dragon Reborn, so he couldn't just be her warder. He has a higher calling, you know? But still, there is still some residual feeling, I think, between Egwene and Rand. Because, yeah, there was some kind of tense moments between them when she's like, he's kind of not the same person I grew up with, but she still feels proud of him. Perrin, he is doing stuff. I think everyone's married. Oh, Tom is alive! I knew it! Tom is alive. Yes, I wrote down that Tom is alive. So when Moraine comes back, Tom is also there. So he obviously survived the first book. So Tom is with her, but Lan is commanding a cavalry. So he, for a lot of the section I've read, is at the Gap, and they lose the Gap. He is doing a lot of stuff, and he still has feelings for Nynaeve. I don't know if anything's happened between them or what, but he does think about her, and he thinks about how much he loves her. So I don't know if they're an actual couple, if they're still together, or what. I'm hoping for maybe a scene between them very soon, but it's nice to know that that love is still there. Especially with how they ended the first book. I was like, oh my god, they're so cute. But now, I don't know. I don't know what's happened between them. Perrin has a wife. Perrin's married. He wants to enter the world of dreams. A wolf dream, and he needs Rand's help. I don't understand what all of that means. But Hopper's murderer, you know, Hopper, the wolf from the first book, is there. Haven't really seen too much of Perrin, honestly. So maybe the next section will have more of him. Perrin's family, I think, were murdered. Yeah, someone called Odaith had killed his family. But I think he believed something else had happened to them. Because Bornhold says, Ibara, it wasn't Trollocs who killed your family. A shock went through Perrin's body. I'm sorry, Bornhold said, looking away. It was Odaith? Odaith. Your father insulted him, he tore apart the family, and we blamed the Trollocs. I didn't kill them, but I didn't say anything, so much blood. What? Perrin grabbed the white cloak by the shoulder. But they said, Light, he dealt with this already. That's information. That is information. Poor Perrin. And I am still finding everything so interesting because I did want to know what happened with the characters, so I'm trying my absolute damnedest to pay attention to the characters we met in the first book. There are so many new characters. I can't really care about them, honestly, right now. But I'm sure they are lovely people. I'm sure they've had books upon books of development. And you guys probably love them. That's amazing. Loyal is married now as well. It says Loyal blushed. Well, you say Perrin, I am married now. Oh, he's so cute. Everything has come so quickly. I am married to Aerith, though, you say. She's just over there. Did you hear her singing? Isn't her song beautiful? Yeah, so Nynaeve has the 5 powers. So that's really pretty fucking awesome and incredible. So moving forward now, I'm about to start chapter 22. We are heading towards the last battle. Rand has pretty much gotten, I think, nearly everyone to sign the Dragon's Peace. Not that it was very easy, but, you know, it's just a way of being united in the battle. So I have a feeling the battle will come, especially since it's apparently a 9-hour chapter in the audiobook. Yikes. But is it weird that even though I don't know a whole lot of context going into this, I'm still quite liking it because I like the characters that we met in the first book anyway, and the story is exciting. Even though a lot of it is like political intrigue, battle strategy, it's still enjoyable. Not that I would recommend going straight from the first book to this book. No, please don't do what I do. Oh, before I go even further, actually, sorry, the bad side are turning people. Someone called Lanfear is talking about turning. Those who can channel can be turned to the shadow by force in the right circumstances. Mihail has been having trouble here making the process work as easy as he should. He needs women if he's going to turn men easily. You lose something of transformation, they will never serve as well as if they'd come willingly. Or they'll be loyal but the light is gone. So that's kind of scary. So anyone who can channel can be turned by the shadow. So I'm wondering if maybe we might start losing people to the dark side. Maybe that will help to sway the armies on the evil side rather than on the side of good. Oh, I don't know. It's really exciting though. Like a lot of Aes Sedai have died in a lot of the battles too. Just a lot going on. I'm very excited to see if Rand can break the seals, kill the Dark One once and for all, and have a happy ending. I've been waiting books to see this happen. The sky has turned black. It's gonna pour down with rain. And that's so fitting because I have just finished that massive 222-page chapter called The Last Battle. I haven't finished the book yet. I still have about 110 pages to go. But I think the battle might be over now, I think. Oh my god, that was so intense. That was so much. Also, perfect timing as well. Daniel Green's just uploaded a video called The Wheel of Time's Taint. And I'm not gonna lie, I don't fully understand what the taint actually is. Because all I'm picturing is the area between the balls and the bum. So I'm like, that's a bit of an odd choice to have as part of your fantasy series. Tell me more, tell me more. So, I mean, yes, a lot of stuff has gone over my head, but I will say, I think the last battle itself was probably one of the most intense and exciting chapters I've ever read in a fantasy series, where there has been like big battles going on, and I did really enjoy it. I mean, it was a slog, don't get me wrong, like especially for me who doesn't have a lot of context clues. It was exhausting to read, and you know what, I think, well, I mean, it was to do with the fact that the chapter was 222 pages long. But I think because reading the chapter felt like an exhausting experience, it really does help with those feelings as a reader when you're reading about all of these battles. Like, the battle lasts ages. It goes on for a long time. I don't even know if it's over yet. Hopefully it is. But I think maybe Brandon Sanderson had it all as one chapter to be exhausting, so that we're getting through it and it's tiring. And I think, yeah, the chapter length does reflect that. So it was a great chapter. I was intimidated, but I'm so glad I finished it. Spent pretty much most of last night reading it, finished it this morning. It was a good time. I say good time. A lot of people died. Well, I mean, I say a lot of people. I think one person I know died. One person I know died. Egwene. Oh my god, poor Egwene. I was actually sad. I was really sad when she died. She was so badass. The way that she was, like, well, first she lost Gawain. And I was like, okay, I don't know this man.
I hate to say it. I hope I don't sound ridiculous. I don't know who this man is. I mean, he could be walking down the street. I wouldn't know a thing. Sorry to this man.
But I could see, like, how important he was to her. He was Egwene's warder, and I think lover. But Egwene's final stand was so good. If I look back on this battle, I think Egwene and Lan were like the two MVPs of like the actual fighting and stuff. Rand, he did the thing. But like in terms of the actual battle and the actual fighting, I think, yeah, Egwene and Lan deserve credit. It's when she's going against Mihail and she falls, but then she yelled, forcing herself to her feet. She would not face him on her knees. She drew every scrap of the power she could hold, throwing it at the Forsaken with the fury of the Amyrlin. And I was like, freaking hell, she's badass. She's gonna give it hell. She's going to put her entire Ugwusi into it. And then literally like on the next page she dies. Egwene's soul separated from her collapsing body and rested upon that wave, riding it into the light. I mean, it's so sweet. That is kind of hopeful and uplifting. His soul goes into the light, I guess. Whatever that means in this world. Rand screamed in denial and rage and sorrow. Not her, not her. The dead are mine. Oh my god. I was actually kind of sad. I really liked her in the first book. Going into this book, I still liked her. Gawain, that was a pretty intense scene. So Gawain goes up against Demandred. And Demandred, oh my gosh, like pretty much the main antagonist of this battle, I think. Because he's shouting for Lews Therin over and over and over again. Like, hey, Lews Therin, come at me. Come at me, bro. But then everyone else is like coming at him. And he ends up killing Gawain until finally, like at the end of this chapter, and maybe what's ended the battle here. I don't think the battle's over. Because like the stuff with Rand and the Dark One, I don't think is over. Even though the Dark... I'm getting off on a tangent, stop that. I think Demandred is dead. He puts the sword in his throat. He's gotta be dead, right? I did not come here to win, Lan whispered, smiling. I came here to kill you. Death is lighter than a feather. Demandred's eyes opened wide and he tried to pull back. Too late, Lan's sword took him straight through the throat. The world grew dark as Lan slipped backward off the sword. He felt Nynaeve's fear and pain as he did, and he sent his love to her. That's so cute. But I loved it just before that when Demandred is like, who are you? No one of this age has such skill. As Mordian? No, he couldn't have fought me like this. Lews Therin, it is you behind that face, isn't it? I am just a man, Lan whispered. That's all I have ever been. And I'm like... that's so badass. Like, that's so cool. I love Lan. I think Lan might be my favourite character, actually. Yeah, the stuff with Rand and the Dark One was interesting. Not a whole lot to say about it. It's just, like, a lot of showing Rand different things. Very easy to follow along, of course. But the Dark One does offer Rand peace by offering, like, nothing. An end to existence. I offer it to you, too. And to all men. You wanted peace? I give it to you. The peace of the void that you often seek. I give you nothing and everything. An end to existence is not peace. I made this choice before, we will continue. There's a lot of philosophical stuff there. There's a lot to unpack. Rand doesn't take the deal. And at this point, it doesn't really feel like Rand can defeat the Dark One. Or like, we kind of need the Dark One to exist in a way. Like, that's what kind of feels like that. It's a little bit too much for my little brain to comprehend. This like whole you know, theme of existence and lightness and darkness and all of that. Like, that's all coming into play with the Rand scenes. So I'm sure I will say more about that in the last like 110 pages that I need to read. But also the thing I'm most concerned about right now is Elaine and the fact that Mello wants to extract her babies. That sounds really gross and awful. Like, why? Well, obviously I know why, but like, why? Yikes. So hopefully Elaine is fine after this. I don't think Rand would be able to cope losing Egwene and Elaine in such quick succession. And it honestly did seem like most of this battle, the good were losing. We kept, you know, going back to Rand, and like he can feel who's dying, like he knows who's dying. We have so many losses on the side of good. It didn't look good for the side of good for such a long time. So I was really concerned that we would actually lose. And again, there is still time. There is still time. I'm hopeful that we win. Last 110 pages, let's go. The wind blew southward, through knotted forests, over shimmering plains and towards lands unexplored. This wind, it was not the ending. There are no endings, and never will be endings, to the turning of the wheel of time. But it was an ending. Oh, why do I actually feel like pretty sad now that it's over? Imagine reading Wheel of Time in less than a week. I mean, I know it seems a little bit daft that I just went from the first to the last, but I'm still kind of sad that it's over. Is that weird? Obviously, I still have like 13 books that I could read at some point, but endings just make me sad. And it was a good ending. The battle was not over, by the way, which I should have known really, because, you know, like the Dark One still needed to be, I mean, defeated, not really defeated, I guess. Well, he says that the Dark One was never the enemy. So I think Rand comes to the conclusion that you can't have light without darkness and all of that kind of things, which, you know, like, yeah, that's kind of obvious. That makes sense. So I don't know if I fully love that, but it was a good ending. And so it seemed like he had kind of died, but he's sort of switched places with Moradin. So the end of the book is quite uplifting for Rand. Yeah, he's walking away from his actual body being burned. But I was a little bit underwhelmed by Moraine, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I know she did her own thing, but I thought we would see more of her. She was the kind of person I was thinking would be more morally grey. What were the questions that I had? Do Rand and Egwene get together? No. Is Rand the Dragon reborn? Yes. Would he destroy the world? No. But it does feel like this is a new beginning. So maybe in a way he does, like in a metaphorical sense. Do Nynaeve and Lan get together? Yes. Does Matt stop being a dumbass? Yes. And oh my gosh, he's going to be a dad. I'm actually very proud of him, very pleased for him. Is Marie going to do something drastic for the greater good? Maybe she did before this book, and that's what led to her original death. I don't know. Whereas Tom, because I don't for a second believe he's dead, he is alive. Stuff with Perrin. Oh, Perrin defeated Slayer. So I was like, great. Will Egwene become an Aes Sedai? I mean, she becomes mother, but then also dies. Will Nynaeve learn a channel? Yes. Will the Dark One? It did. Do we meet any more talking Trollocs? I didn't notice any in this one. Maybe in an earlier book. But all in all, I think it was like a really enjoyable book. Even if I couldn't fully understand character development, it's still quite exciting. The battle lasted a freaking long time, which seems realistic, really. I mean, I think the entire battle sequence was longer than the fucking Lord of the Rings trilogy. But it was still super, super good. Okay? Please don't come for me. I'm not going to rate A Memory of Light because that would be unfair, but I did give 4 stars to the first book. And there we have it. I started and finished The Wheel of Time in less than a week. I would love to know, I mean, one, your thoughts on the vlog. Tell me everything. Shout at me. Call me names. Do what you must. But I would also love to know which series you think I should do next. Is there a series that you would recommend where I do only the first and the last book? Let me know down in the comments. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to leave this video a like if you enjoyed, a dislike if you didn't enjoy, and subscribe if you haven't already. And I give a huge thank you to my patrons and my channel members for supporting my channel. If you'd like to join my Patreon or my channel membership, then all the links are down in the description box. But yeah, I hope I will see you in the next video. Bye.